Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Tonight, we've got a special edition of our series. We've got Dennis McNamara on to talk to us. Dennis has been a long-time coach at Craigieburn and a lot of other places. He's got quite the rap sheet. If you read the Facebook post, you'd see all his accomplishments he's done, and that's only some of them. There's a lot more on that list. So tonight, Dennis will be talking to us, passing off some of his wisdom. I've worked with Dennis for a little bit. He coached me, and there's some things that he's gone through and spoken about during his time that still sit with me and I still use in my coaching to this day. So it'll be a very valuable session for you all. So thanks for your time, Dennis, and I'll pass it over to you now.
Thanks, Lockie. Got it. I'm going to share my screen, mate. All right, here we go. When Lockie first asked me to have this chat with you guys.
Sorry, Dennis. Have you shared your screen? So we can't quite see it.
Well, I've got it up on my screen. Let's get back to you. How are we going now?
There we are. Now we got you.
Okay, good to go.
Perfect. Thank
Sorry,
you.
guys. All right, have another crack at it. I'll see if we can get rid of these people on the side. Yeah. All right. Start again. When Lockie asked me to talk about my coaching philosophies, I thought, wow, I better check what the previous sessions had covered so that I was not going over old ground or repeating stuff that people had heard plenty of times before. And then I got knocked out and went, wow, how good were these presentations from all the people who'd gone before me? Those presentations were exceptional. I had better pull my finger out and get organised and have a real crack at this. So that's what I've done. I've chosen discussion topics that coaches encounter most years when they're coaching, and then aimed them for basically domestic coaches, although it does, it rings true across all fields of coaching. So rep and state coaching is different, but in a lot of areas it is the same. So the topics I've come up with are winning is not measured on the scoreboard, shout praise, whisper criticism, running, exercising for conditioning, coaching difficult parents, modelling the behaviour you coach, coaching unselfishness, coaching girls and boys, the difference between team selection and subbing at domestic level, and then continuous learning for coaches. Winning is not measured on the scoreboard. It took me maybe 30 years to work this out. Starting off as a competitive person, but over the years of teaching school kids and coaching domestic kids, I found there's lots of other ways to have wins. And I've come up with these points. A coach should have hundreds of wins in every game. Now, the result on the scoreboard, while it's good to win, is more or less insignificant. It's about the things that we do during the week, teaching our young players and then seeing them execute on the court. So each player that does a left-hand dribble, a left-hand shot when they're strong enough, those sort of things are the little wins that we get during the game, or the team that executes a small offense that results in a good shot. Doesn't have to go in, just results in a good shot. They're the wins that us coaches get, and hopefully the people watching. So for me, winning is measured by the smiles from the players when they've done something well, something that they've been practicing. It's winning, it's by the smiles from the parents, who they're always going to be smiling when their kids are happy. The smiles from the supporters because the team's doing well. And then not necessarily smiles from the opposition and the opposition coaches, but the respect we get from them because our kids are playing the game in the right way, the way we've coached them to. Yeah, winning is measured by character development, how our players handle the winning and the losing of the game. And it's a lesson that they'll take long into their career. Winning is measured by the efforts from coaches, players, parents and supporters. Now, is it a positive effort or a negative effort? Basically the same thing. Winning is measured by attitude of that group. Winning is measured by respect. And I put here how the world views the team, you know. That's from opposition, from supporters, from older age groups. Does this team conduct itself properly on the court? How has the coach got them behaving? How has the coach got them playing? Now, losing with a happy team is winning. Scoreboard means nothing, but if we're sending our players away with a smile on their face, even though they've lost their game because of their effort and the way they've played, well, then we're doing our job. Winning with an unhappy team is losing. When we've got little bits of infighting and nobody, or not nobody, but some people not getting along, whether it's parents or supporters, even though your team's won, it doesn't feel that way. And for me, my most treasured coaching moments are not the state or Australian titles that I've been part of. I hardly remember any of that. Doesn't fill me with any great pride. What it does is seeing my past players, it could be now 30 to 40-year-old, playing major roles in basketball and their families playing basketball, and they're still hanging out together. Things that they learnt from coaching when they were younger. Coaching in the unwinnable game. Give your players a win by setting them an achievable challenge. It might be to score 20 points. And if you're not close to achieving that challenge, set it up with the opposition coach. Yeah, quiet word at 3/4 time to what your players are trying to do. And when they achieve that 20 points, you'll get the smiles and the cheers and everything. They might have lost by 40 or 50 on the scoreboard, but they've had a win by making their goal that we set for them before the game, and then they get their super duper or whatever it is from the canteen afterwards. And it's not quite fitting on the screen here, but coaching in the unlosable game. Give your players an unmeasurable win. Yeah, something that's not shown on the scoreboard. Get your players, to basically dribble mostly with their left hand for that game or their weak hand. Get them to shoot with their left hand if they're up to that stage of their basketball. Yeah, it's not winning by 100 points that's important. It's about the wins they get by the development they get out of that game. While we're going along with this, and I'm moving pretty quickly, if anyone has a question, don't be afraid to interrupt so that we can all have a crack at answering the question if I haven't got the answers. Shout praise, whisper criticism. Players love it when coaches notice them. We should always be on the lookout to catch a player doing something well and then praise them for it. Praise players in front of teammates, for it encourages the player, lights up their life a bit, but it also guides his teammates. So if you're saying to a player, well done, I like the way you're using your left hand on the left-hand side of the court, then the other players are getting that message as well, and they're going to try it. Players do not want to be embarrassed in front of anyone, especially their peers or their teammates. They switch off and you lose them. I think it was Jess who said in one of her sessions, use the feedback. I think she used hamburger. But I said feedback sandwich here. So the approach is to give praise, then give your coaching criticism in the middle of the sandwich, and then praise at the end. An example would be, Drew, awesome job, mate, at getting open. There's your praise, but the team needs you to take the open shot on the catch. Don't hesitate next time. And there's your coaching criticism, giving something you want him to do, and then finish off with some praise. You've got a great shot. Keep taking it.
I'm not sure if that was actually said too many times.
No, I think it was the other way around. But anyway, if a player is continually making the same mistake, take him aside and privately explain what you want him to do next time. Yeah, no embarrassment, just you and him. So coaches, shouting criticism at a player, a parent or opposition is not a good example to anyone. Juniors, young kids, they copy us adults and they copy their coaches. So let's model the behaviour that we want them to do. This one here is one of my pet hates or favourites, whichever side we look at it. Yeah, running or exercising without basketball skills involved. It is a waste of training time. I've had this discussion a few times in the past with our past coaching coordinators, and it didn't work. Fitness does not help a team's basketball if they cannot dribble or shoot. Now, running sprints does not improve basketball skills, does not improve the decision making. It might get you fitter, but fitness alone won't make you a better dribbler or a better shooter, a better defender. You have to learn those skills first, especially in the younger age groups. Running sprints is not fun for the majority of the players. Players may give less effort during training because they're saving themselves for the sprints they know that are coming later. Running sprints does not reflect the game. When in a game do we just go full bore up and down the court without moving sideways or backwards? So junior basketball is a critical time in a player's potentially long sporting life. Can either set them up with a great foundation and love for the game that they'll have for the rest of their life, or it'll give them a bad experience that drives them away from the sport. Better ways to condition our players using basketball drills. There are many fun basketball drills that increase fitness and basketball skills. This is conditioning and game development at the same time. Transition drills, 2-on-1, 3-on-2, 4-on-3, all have basketball skills used in the game. The sprinting is part of it, the decision making under stress, the defense and the offense. so we can gain fitness while practicing our basketball. 5-on-0 offense, where players run 5 trips up and back, executing the team offense and taking a different shot out of the offense for each player on one of the trips. We're improving fitness in this one. We're improving leadership because the point guard's got to take the ball, call the plays, make sure players are in their correct offense entry positions, and at the same time, they're getting fitness. 1-on-1 full court defense, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, done correctly is super hard. And that's conditioning our players at the same time, but practicing our defensive skills. 2-on-2 disadvantage drills where 3 players have to run a certain distance and the 4th player has to run a bit further is a great conditioning drill. Add in the rule, no out of bounds, no out of ball going out. So when it goes out, they have to still keep playing. Offense continues shooting until defense gets the ball, meaning the offense can score multiple times. With the offense scoring multiple times, players have to practice their blocking out and work hard to get the rebound. This could demonstrate that drill where we have the 2 guys on offense, the red 1 and the red 02. They're both on offense. And the defenders, D1 and D2. All 4 players on the coach's signal have to sprint around their marker. So O1 is going around the W marker, D1 is going around the X marker. D2 has to run further, so they're going to be the trailing defender. And D2 is, so we've got D2 done. O2 is the other offensive player. So it's 2-on-1 until the second defender catches up. Now, once the offense scores, they keep shooting. And they score again and again and again. And it becomes really competitive to which team can get the most consecutive scores. Remembering there's no out of bounds. Once the defense gets the ball, O2 here goes to D2, D2 goes to D1, D1 goes to O1, and the next player in the off-court line moves in. So players are getting 4 goes at it, and it is hard work before they move off the court, and they're getting conditioning while doing and learning basketball. Coaching difficult parents. Coaches dedicate their time to teaching children how to play the game. The majority of parents appreciate this, but occasionally you'll find a couple of people that don't see it this way. Often the love they have for their child can blind them if they believe their child is being treated unfairly. Dealing with these difficult parents is something most coaches will have to do once in a while. No one goes through an entire coaching career without ruffling at least a few feathers or a few parents' feathers. Some parents will never see fault in their own. In my job as a teacher, we come across students and parents where the students have moved out of our school, they've gone to another school, they've moved out of that school and gone to another school, and again and again. At each of the schools, the child was a good student. The teachers were all no good at the 4 schools. So some parents were just not going to get through to. To help avoid this problem, research as thoroughly as possible before selecting your team. I know in domestic that's sometimes not possible, but if you can, talk to previous coaches, because winning with an unhappy team is losing, and sometimes some parents are very difficult to work with. So how do we go about making it better? Meet with the parents, let them know you're approachable. So a pre-season meeting will let you begin to develop relationships with parents and let them know that you're approachable if you ever want to talk about, if they ever want to talk about any concerns they might have. Some parents are intimidated, especially if they're first time into the basketball, it's their first child in, by coaches, and would prefer the coach to make the first move or the initial move to developing the coach-parent relationship. Be friendly at the pre-season meeting. Being friendly at the pre-season meeting is the first step towards this. Being an approachable coach is very important for us in coaching. End the meeting by letting all the parents and players know that if they ever have anything to discuss, don't hesitate to contact you. Give them your number and the best times to contact you. Most of the time, when a parent storms up to a coach demanding answers out of the blue, it is because the problem has been building up for a long time and it's finally got to a point where they can't handle it anymore. If the parent felt like they could talk to you, the coach, about it prior, this outburst may not have happened because of the pre-meetings. Discuss distribution of playing time. This is a topic at your parents' meeting, and it's how you're going to distribute playing time amongst the players. Let them know you're going to distribute playing time evenly, regardless of talent, if that's what you choose to do. If you have another option, you must let them know that as well. If you get an older age group and are playing basketball at a higher level, let the players and parents know that playing time will be earned based on work ethic, attitude, and lastly, talent. Some players might not get much playing time in a crucial game. If you're taking this route, make sure you let the parents and the players know that during easy games, you will make sure to give the less talented players extended minutes so that they can develop into better players, and then make sure you do it because they're going to remember that. How to handle a difficult parent that's on the attack. Don't attempt to talk to a parent that is yelling at you. Never talk to a parent if they're yelling at you. You give up your time to coach their kids and you deserve more. Thankfully, this doesn't happen too often. I have had incidents where a parent has had a go at me on more than one occasion, and the urge to go back to defend your decisions that you made is very strong, which, as you can imagine, quickly escalates into a bad situation for everyone. Most of the time, the parents only know part of the situation. Their child has not fully told the whole story. Rather, if a parent comes up to you frustrated and yelling, you should, in a calm voice, let them know that you'd be happy to discuss whatever their concern is when they calm down. To discuss the problem at a later time. If a parent gets frustrated with you during the game and walks over and demands you talk to them straight away, kindly let them know that you're happy to talk to them, but they will need to wait until after the game when you can both sit down and talk alone without other parents or players watching. Schedule a meeting for the next day or later is even a better option. This gives both yourself and the parent time to sit down and think about the conversation prior to meeting, rather than blurting out whatever comes to mind when you could be angry. Get someone else to sit in on the meeting. Have your assistant coach, your team manager, your club official sit in on the meeting. This will be beneficial to both parties, such as clarifying the facts that may arise during the meeting, a witness for both parties, and to recall comments made in the meeting at a later time if required. Hear them out without interrupting. The parent needs to feel like they're being heard. If you're constantly interrupting and disputing their comments mid-conversation, the only thing you're going to achieve is making the parent angrier than they already are. Hear them out. Get them to complete their side of the story before you reply. The last thing you want to do is make the situation worse than it already is. Show the parent that you're paying attention to what they have to say by using good body language. Don't sit back in your chair with your arms crossed. This is showing a type of arrogance and stubbornness and only will infuriate the parent further. Sit forward, look them in the eyes, nod when they're speaking to show that you understand. Keep your composure even if they don't. Even if they come in blasting you for reasons you don't understand, it's important to make sure you keep calm and talk rationally. You don't want to get into a shouting match and say something you'll regret in the future. If you find the way they're speaking to you is unacceptable, politely ask them not to talk to you that way. And if they continue to do so, you'll have to end the conversation. Then if they do continue to speak to you in an unacceptable way, simply say that you're not willing to talk to them when they're in this state, and you'd be happy to talk to them again when they've cooled off or cooled down. The correct way to respond is going to differ with each situation. But here is a couple of tips that could help in your response. Even if you don't fully agree with their argument, let the parent know that you can see where they're coming from. Acknowledge the points in their argument that you agree with. Acknowledge their son, daughter's strengths before you tell the parent what they need to improve. For example, you may have this conversation. I understand where you're coming from. Look, Lachlan is a very good shooter and we love to have him, and we love having him in our team out on the floor. More to make the most of that. The problem is he isn't as strong as we need him to be defensively. Again, it's the old sandwich, praise, coaching criticism, and praise. Model the behaviour you coach. Basketball coaches are role models. Players are watching everything we do. They're going to find it difficult to trust you and respect your word if you're not modelling the behaviour you ask of them. Coaches, coach the importance of controlling emotions on the court. Some coaches coaching this value can be seen jumping up and down on the sidelines, screaming at referees after a missed call, and then beating up their players when they do the same thing. So is this okay for your players? If it is, then you can keep yelling. If it's not, you model what you should be doing. Coaches, don't be late for training. You ask your players to be early. Don't be late for games or meetings. Prepare properly. Be organised. Show the players that you're prepared so that they will prepare correctly for games and training. They won't rock in late. Don't get upset about mistakes. Coaches, don't trash talk with the opposition. Always show respect for the opposition coaches, players and spectators. Have the no excuses as a value. Winners will find a way, losers will make an excuse. So have that value for your players and for you as a coach. We want you to model the behaviour you want to see in your players. Coaching unselfishness. Coaching the player that rarely passes the ball to their teammates, the player that wants to take a shot on every offensive trip down the court. Having this type of player on your team can turn a seemingly happy season into a nightmare if the unselfishness is not coached early and properly and corrected. Junior basketball should be enjoyable for everyone on the team, not just the couple of players that are more advanced than their teammates. How much fun are the less developed players having if all they do is watch a teammate shoot shot after shot each time they're on offense? If you allow this, the less developed players and the more developed player is being coached or taught the wrong lessons. The reasons behind selfishness. Society has conditioned them to be selfish by putting the focus on winning. Sometimes our coaches do, because before the game they talk and overemphasise winning to their players at domestic level. And then after the game, the players sometimes have to listen to a coach go on a rant because of the disappointment, because of the disappointing way of the loss. Then the players, they have to listen to their parents. They learn the importance of winning is to their parents from all of the "this is what you should have done" conversations that take place in the car on the way home. Kids witness the importance of winning when parents over-celebrate a basketball win with cheers and clapping, and they then compare it to the depressive attitude of some parents that they exhibit after a loss. They also see their idols in the professional comps of the NBA, NBL, playing the win-at-all-cost basketball. Players, our juniors, watch them get angry after a loss or happy after a win, and this undeniably rubs off on them. They get the impression, this is how I should feel as well. This is how I should behave. So our juniors, our young players in domestic art, they're searching for approval. How often do we see the junior player immediately spin around after scoring a goal to see the reaction of their parents or their coach? The parents may be seen emphatically clapping, maybe getting their wallet out with wide smiles on their faces, and the coach fist pumping. Kids love this feeling of approval, and there's nothing wrong with a coach or a kid's parents being happy about them scoring, except for, or the only problem with this, however, is that the player doesn't receive the same feedback when they make a great pass, grab a great rebound, or use the offense to set up a score. The external rewards for scoring are far greater than for the process used to set the score up. But the process that's setting the score up is way more important than the goal or the points that were scored. Yeah, the process is what we are trying to teach our players. Therefore, most junior players are going to take every shot in hopes of eliciting a positive reaction from the adults that are important to them. So how do we overcome this? We want to prevent our selfishness from the start of the season. The first step is to teach unselfishness is to prevent it from occurring in the first place. As the saying goes, prevention is better than the cure. As coaches, we can do this in two ways. Now, always encourage your team to make the right play. The right play meaning the best basketball decision based on the situation. If a teammate is open in a better position to score, you should be making the pass. Now, just keep it simple, basketball simple. A coach must emphasise making the right play from day one. You can't just bring it up at random intervals throughout the season and assume the players will adhere to it. It must be constantly coached at training. It should be one of your team's core values. This philosophy will ensure that it's not only your star player controlling the basketball and taking shots, but everybody is getting a go. Don't make winning a big deal. Make the right play as your big deal. Making the right play should be your big deal. Another step for coaching unselfishness is to resist talking about winning too much with your team. When a star player listens to the coach speak about how badly they want to win, they know that the best way to make that happen is for them to hog the basketball and take the game on themselves. So we want to be praising the process used, not the end result. Get the process right and the results will be better in the long term.
I've got a question about this one, Dennis.
Yeah, mate.
And I love this sort of stuff and coaching unselfishness and that sort of thing. And I love the phrase of make the right decision. Now, often junior players and young players will make the wrong decision and you get angry with them, and it's easy to be upset and disappointed and tell them off when the shot misses. There are times when the coach killer, kid takes a bad shot, but it goes in. How do you do that?
And that is the coach killer. And you see the parents jumping up and down saying, how fantastic was that half-court shot? And they've dipped their shoulder to the floor using a bad technique that's only going to work 1 out of 50 times, and they're getting the wrong message. So when we get the opportunity, you got to use that sandwich of, I like the way you take the shot, but, you know, we want to be able to shoot correctly and all, yeah, saying all the right things. Eventually, we can get that through. I mean, you know that it's the uneducated people that we've got to get to.
Absolutely.
But you're dead right. I think that's going to come up in one of these other comments down the road here.
Oh, cool.
But hey, I like you interrupting me because I feel like I'm just sitting here reading what I've got on my screen.
Cool.
And we can get the message through. So if you're coaching the right play or make the right play and that message hasn't got through, if this prevention method didn't work, it's time to directly tell the player to share the basketball more with their teammates, you know, make the right play. Quick word during or after the game, letting the player know that you want them to pass more and play more of a team game. You can have this conversation by calling the player over during another player's free throws or while they're on the bench or during a timeout or after the game. When having these quick conversations, coaches must give the feedback in a positive way using our criticism sandwich model that we've talked about. Hey, Lachlan, you're doing an awesome job of getting past your defender, but you have to pass to your teammate under the ring when their defender helps on you and you've got two players come at you. Keep up your fantastic dribbling. You're doing a great job. Okay, if it still hasn't worked, if the player doesn't take much notice of your quick word with them, it's time to make the conversation a little more serious by talking to them in private. Take them to the side before or after practice or in a game and simply say, "Hey, Lachlan, can I have a quick word with you, please?" You must, again, use the sandwich. The conversation could go something like, "You're a really good player, but this is a team sport. You need to pass the ball more with your teammates. I love coaching you and having you on the team. But if you don't start being more of a team player, then I'm going to have to sub you off more often." Don't have this conversation with them in front of their teammates. Doing so will only embarrass them and make them resent you.
It's amazing what the threat of court time does.
What was that, mate?
It's amazing what the threat, excuse me, it's amazing what the threat of taking away court time does.
Yeah, but let's try and get through it positively first. If they leave you no choice, then you have to bench them. This is after you've tried all the other options. If you've talked privately with Lachlan and you've been consistently emphasising making the right play and he still isn't passing the ball, then you have no choice but to follow through with your threat. Make sure you've completed the first 4 steps. Making sure you've completed your first 4 steps is important and a far better option than immediately sitting the player on the bench and hoping they learn their lesson. If the selfish player is one of your best players on your team, like Lachlan was, then after your quick word, they're going to think, "Hey, he's not going to bench me. I'm the best player. The coach won't actually bench me, then we'll lose." This is where you must prove yourself as a coach who puts higher importance on the development of the players and the team and the enjoyment of than the winning, by sitting them regardless of how it affects the scoreboard. The message that the whole team learns is the biggest win here, not what's happening on the scoreboard. Yeah, it's something that the players can take right through to the end of their playing time. As probably the #1 basketballer ever to play said, and this is not Michael Jordan, "Create unselfishness as the most important team attribute." Bill Russell was an NBA player who won 11 out of 13 NBA titles that he played in, compared to Michael Jordan's 5. And he won 18 of 20 championships over college and high school and NBA. He did what the team required. So it still hasn't worked. The bench. Meet with the parents. Now that you've begun benching Lachlan, you can be sure his parents have noticed the difference in playing time. Instead of sitting back and waiting for them to bring it up, be proactive and ask the parents if they wouldn't mind having a chat with you. This shows them that you are not trying to avoid the problem, but are instead willing to work with them and their child to help work out a solution. Explain to them why their child has been receiving the different playing time and that it will continue until she shares the basketball with her teammates. Be a coach.
Yeah, Lachlan's turned into a girl. I like it.
Yeah, so do I. Be a coach that puts the development and enjoyment of the entire team above all else. If communicated properly, this conversation will hopefully encourage the parents to talk to their child about the situation and let them know the reasons behind the difference in playing time. Right, I think this is the part we were talking about before, Drew. I'm trying to rush here because I'm conscious of time. I've already gone over. Praise players that do make the right play. Reinforce the unselfishness you're coaching your players by praising those that make the right play regardless of the outcome. the most important 4 words of the above sentence are regardless of the outcome. Focus on the process instead of the result. Instead of that miraculous goal, let's focus on getting that player to pass. So if a player makes an unselfish pass that leads to a missed shot, don't get upset about the missed shot. Congratulate, encourage the player who made the right basketball play. Praising unselfish play will breed more unselfish play. We're giving messages to the whole team. And once the unselfish player can definitely make the transition to, once the selfish player can definitely make the transition to an unselfish player with the right guidance and direction. I'll nearly get that right soon. A once selfish player can definitely make the transition to an unselfish player with the right guidance. It relies on the coach focusing more on the team development than winning. Coaches must be working to sit a selfish player on the bench, or must be willing to sit a selfish player on the bench. If they aren't, none of these steps will ever work. Encouraging unselfishness on your team will result in a more fun game for everyone involved and more life wins overall.
Dennis?
Yes, mate?
Where does unselfishness turn into discipline?
I would say 15, 14, depends on the level that they're playing.
Yeah.
And the maturity.
So under 14s, under 16?
I would say, depending on the number of years a player's played more than under 14.
Yep.
Yeah, and their experience, maturity.
Yeah, yeah. Because
I've got under 14s now that haven't got it.
16,
And then I've got others that have got it in
16
abundance.
turns of discipline, isn't it?
If I'm answering your question properly, Peter, because you're very soft, which I know you're not.
Yep.
Your voice, I mean, I can only just hear you.
Audio, mate. Something's wrong.
Audio, okay.
Yep. Yeah, thanks, mate.
Now, here's a very different coaching situation, and it is totally different. And I've learned from, well, too many years of teaching PE that boys and girls are completely different, especially for everything. Coaching boys and coaching girls are completely different. Knowing the differences and the preferences of the two can make either a beginning as a coach or the transition from coaching one gender to the other a much easier process. The biggest thing we coaches need to remember is girls and boys aren't going to change their nature to suit your preferred coaching style. Girls are not suddenly going to become, or I should say most girls are not suddenly going to become as competitive and physical as boys just because they have a new coach. It is we coaches who must change our coaching technique to best suit the gender we are coaching. I experienced this when I filled in coaching the Big V women for half a season a couple of years ago. I filled in for the Big V women after coaching the men for a long while, and it became a disaster, not because of the girls, but because of me. I was at fault in that I was coaching them or saying things similar to what I said to males that didn't upset males but did upset females. So I was in the wrong. I didn't know how to talk properly to females. Might be why I'm single. Why they play basketball. Boys play for competitiveness and they play to win. They love the medals, the trophies and the other accolades that go hand in hand with winning and competing against each other, not just in games, but in training. This can be one of the biggest challenges when coaching boys. They can sometimes put individual winning above team winning. You only have to coach and import to know that. They value the friendships they develop, but winning is their top priority. Girls start sport pursuing different goals than boys do, or most girls. Most girls play for the companionship, the camaraderie that comes with being part of the team. Most young girls would much rather fit in and feel comfortable with their teammates than to win and be uncomfortable. What girls and boys look for in a coach. Again, proving their competitive nature, boys look for a coach they respect and admire. They want a coach with a high level of basketball knowledge and a coach that wants to win. They like a coach who is firm but fair. They want to be pushed to develop their basketball skills. What girls look for in a basketball coach can be summed up in the one word, and that is trust. They want someone to encourage them without making them feel uncomfortable or singled out from the group. I see this all the time in my teaching. Boys can be more focused on individual accomplishments than team success. This is due to their desire to prove themselves as individuals to their peers, which is especially dominant when they're talking about boys in sport. This is also why on a boys team, there can be a lot more bickering about court time that each player receives. If a player isn't getting much court time, they feel they're being robbed of an opportunity to prove themselves and become unhappy even when the team is winning. Girls, unlike boys, tend to focus on team success a lot more than individual accomplishments. Girls also have the human desire to prove themselves to their peers, but this usually isn't pursued through their sporting accomplishments. They don't usually have as much of a problem with court time. This is because girls don't want to stand out from the rest of the team. They want to be part of the team. They don't want the attention that comes with complaining, and they're often too scared of what other girls in the team will think of them. I've found in teaching, if I'm doing a lesson and I ask a boy or ask for somebody to demonstrate a skill, I will have 20 boys jumping up and down with their hand up because it's a great chance to show off, but there'll only be 1 or 2 girls. Or if we're doing a drill, we'll have 20 boys doing the drill half right because they're going as fast as they can so that they're first finished. While I've got 20 girls well behind the boys, but they're all doing it correctly. Boys will cheat in games and then they'll argue that they weren't. Girls mostly go out without an argument. If a boy gets an opponent out in a game, I had it happening a lot today at school, he will laugh and give his opponent a send-off, tell him where the losers go. Then when a girl gets an opponent out, and this happened again a lot today, she apologises and says sorry. And it's a difference in their makeup. And we're talking about most girls. I have coached some girls at the VC level who are as competitive as boys, but in general, these things work. Boys are easy to encourage and motivate. You see coaches yelling and encouragement at them before the game to get them pumped up. If that's your style, you can be much more open and aggressive with your positive encouragement when coaching boys. Motivational techniques are completely opposite for girls. Shouting is never a good motivator for them. The reason is that girls strive for approval of their coach and peers. So by shouting at them, you put them in a situation where they become scared that they will fail the coach and their teammates. Motivational talks play much less of a factor in their performance. They don't often need or want motivational talks before the game. This just adds to the pressure and the feeling that they don't want to let anyone down. What number we're up to? 31 here, guys. I think we've got to about 2 to go. Differences in how they handle losses and criticism. Most boys have a tendency to avoid responsibility for losses or criticism they might receive. They endeavour to find an external reason, like somebody else's fault, or lack of their playing time, or the refs were against them, before accepting the responsibility for the losses themselves. For girls, firstly, don't criticise girls in front of their teammates, just as you shouldn't a boy either. But girls tend to take the losses and the criticism more deeply and to heart. Instead of looking for external reasons like boys do, girls often look for inside themselves for things that they could have done differently to change the outcome. So us guys and us girls are a totally different game. Now, I think I'm talking to a lot of people who already know how to handle this, so I'll go through it as quickly as I can, because you already got it. Domestic basketball, the ideal number is 8 players. You want 3 guards, 3 forwards and a centre. Where possible, at least 1 guard and 1 forward to be interchangeable. That means 1 forward could go down and play in the guards ranks if somebody's missing, or 1 guard is big enough to move up and play in the forwards position. So the way I sub in domestic and even in rep or at under 12 and 14 level is I rank my players 1 to 8, and then I'll start with the 1, 2 and 3 player, and I'll have 4 and 5 on the bench and 6 and 7 starting the game. Now, if I've got 7 and 8 subbing with each other, for most of the time, I only have one of them on the court at a time. So your least skilled players, you've only got one running up and down and being part of the game. And that can be covered by having more of the stronger players. So you're playing at 80% of full strength for most of the game, having player 1, 2, 3 and 6 on, or when you sub, bringing a 4 and 5 in to play with 2, 3, 4. Now, at the last 5 minutes of the game, if you're no chance, you can give your 7 and 8 a lot more playing time. Or if you are in a position where you're a chance to win, you can go at 100% with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I group my players for subbing, I'll have my 3 guards, which is the 1, 2 and the 4 player in the ranking, so that I'm subbing, always got 2 out of my 3 guards on the court. And down the other end, it's the same thing. I've always got 2 of my 3 biggest guys on the court when I'm subbing player 3, 5 and 6. Any questions there? No? a coach should be continuously learning. The coach should never stop looking. Now, I've just used the COVID time, 21 weeks off, so I worked 1 day a week, to really explore the internet and download probably over 500 videos that I'll only use about 10 of them, but to go through stuff. So as I said here, basketball coaches have unlimited information available on the internet. It is not necessary to purchase most things. Research and you'll find what you need on YouTube. Now, there's very good material there. Don't Google for information, YouTube for information. When you Google for it, you get the companies selling all of the stuff that is available for free on YouTube. So this junior NBA skills and drills that I recommend for domestic coaches has 220 videos that are on YouTube for free, that are sold if you Google it. And for our players and our coaches that are a little bit more advanced, the EGT, Elite Guard, so it's maybe should be EGD, I know, development is a way good one. Now, if you get the third part down the bottom, the 4K video downloader, I don't know if it's legal to say this, you can copy all of those YouTube videos and have them on your computer to use the ones that you especially like. I'm going to try and get rid of this, and yeah, here we go. NBA Junior Skills and Drills. On that link that I gave you comes up with...
We can't see it. Sorry, Dennis.
Can't see it?
Nah.
Okay, well, I'll leave that. But if you just look up skills and drills on YouTube, NBA, Junior NBA, don't say skills and drills, just look up Junior NBA, you will get 200 videos of that. Now, let me see if I can. Here we go. Try this one. Have we got it now?
Yeah, it's come up now. We can see that one.
Okay, well, that's the one I'm talking about. If you go down the side here, you've got 200 things that are all about, or mostly about, under 10s, under 12s, under 8s. Now, coaching, and they've got, you know, some of the best coaches in the world doing this. I think this first one here, come on, open. Right, I didn't mean to stop that. That's Isaiah Thomas. Yeah, so they've got all the best people running them. Righto, guys, I apologise for going way over time. Anybody got anything they would like to bring up? Otherwise, I'll let you get on to with whatever else you've got to do.
It's all pretty much self-explained, Dennis. It was a good job.
I am trying to get back onto your screen.
Click the Zoom icon down the bottom, mate.
Right, there we go.
There you go. I'll fix it for you.
Am I back?
No, Dennis, thank you so much for taking the time to do that. I love the stuff about the unselfishness and how to deal with the parents and that one. I think a hugely valuable tool for every coach to have. I know this all started just from our VJBL interview and just some of the stuff you're saying. I know me and Tom were talking about how, you know, some of the stuff that you do that we still do and how valuable that was for us and how it will be valuable for a lot of other people. So appreciate you taking the time to present for us, and the effort you put into that and the time was 5-star. So we really appreciate that. So thank you.
No problem, mate.
To everyone else, thank you so much for tuning in and coming along and listening tonight. We'll post this one up on our socials really soon, and give it another watch because there's a lot of good stuff in it. All right.
Thanks, Dennis. That was great, mate.
Yeah, really good. Thanks, Dennis.
Thanks, buddy.